Assalamu alaikum. I am Mehrunisa, chapter number 13, Biochemistry. We are going to study today carbohydrates, in which we will study sources and uses, carbohydrate as source of energy, test yourself 13.1, and dextrose in drips. So starting from what are the sources of carbohydrates? First one is carbohydrates. They are of very different varieties. They can be simple ones, they can be complex ones. Simple, glucose; complex, starch or cellulose. So they have different sources depending upon their complexity, depending upon their simplicity. So starting from the lowest one, glucose, fructose and galactose, the most important carbohydrates. They are present in fruits, vegetables, honey and cereals. Let's see. Glucose, it is mostly obtained from different types of vegetables and fruits, while fructose, the major quantity of fructose is present in honey. Sucrose, it is a disaccharide which is made up of glucose and fructose. A disaccharide which is made up of glucose and fructose. You know very well what is glucose and what is fructose. Both are isomers of each other having different functional groups. So the sugar which is obtained from sugarcane, it is called as cane sugar, and which is obtained from beetroot, we call it to be beet sugar. Lactose. Lactose is obtained mostly from all the dairy products and milk. Milk is the largest source of lactose. Lactose is also a disaccharide and it is formed of glucose and galactose. Maltose. Maltose is also a disaccharide. It is formed of glucose. When two glucose combine together, glucose molecules, we get maltose. And the most important source of maltose is cereals. These are cereals from which we get these types of cereals, which are the industrial products. Next is starch and cellulose. These are the polysaccharides. These are the complex ones in which glucose and different types of other carbohydrates combine together and form these complex structures. So starch is mostly obtained from cereals, and cellulose, the purest form of cellulose is cotton. It is 100% cellulose. So all of these are the sources of carbohydrates. So let's move toward the topic. Sources. So disaccharides are sucrose, lactose and maltose. Sucrose was found in sugar beet and sugar cane and all the other fruits. Lactose is made up of glucose and galactose, and which is importantly present in milk and all the dairy products. Maltose, which is also a disaccharide in which two glucose molecules combine together, and the important source of maltose is cereals. Polysaccharides, they are starch and cellulose. Starch is mostly found in cereal crops such as wheat, barley, maize, rice, but cotton, it is the purest form of cellulose. Now let's see what are the uses of carbohydrates. Our body, it uses carbohydrate in the form of glucose, the most important carbohydrate. All the other forms of carbohydrate, they change into glucose so as our body can use it. So glucose is the only form of carbohydrate that is used directly by our muscles for the energy. Also, our brain needs glucose for the energy because fat is also a form of energy, but we cannot use fat for the energy. We also use only glucose for the energy for our brain. Other than these, the important uses of carbohydrates are the carbohydrates, as they are sugars, they regulate our sugar level. Low sugar level in a body, it will result in hypoglycemia. So our brain uses glucose as the energy. You must remember this. It is important for MCQs. Hypoglycemia, in which you feel headache, hungry, dizzy, grumpy, shaky, and it is because when your body is running low in glucose. Carbohydrates, they also provide essential nutrients for our bacteria that are present in intestine. Wait. Bacteria? Yes, our intestine have two different types of bacteria, good bacteria and bad bacteria. These. Our body requires good bacteria in more quantity in intestine rather than bad bacteria. Good bacteria, they help in the digestion, and all the carbohydrates, they help the good bacteria in the process of digestion. Dietary fibers, they also help in the bowel functioning. Dietary fibers, which are obtained from the carbohydrates, which are obtained from the fruits and cereals, they help in the proper bowel functioning. Muscle cramps. We know when we do a lot of exercise, we usually get muscle cramps. Carbohydrates prevent the muscle cramps. That is why usually when you go to a gym, they give you glucose energy bottles so as you do not get muscle cramp. So next is how the carbohydrates are the source of energy. Carbohydrates, they provide about 17 kilojoules of energy in only 1 gram of it. We take carbohydrate as food, we eat fruits, we eat vegetables, we drink milk, and these carbohydrates, when enter in our body, they are broken down by the enzymes and we get a large amount of energy. The glucose, all the carbohydrates, they are converted into glucose. If it is sucrose, it will be converted into glucose. If it is lactose, it will be converted into glucose. So all the forms of carbohydrates, they will be converted into glucose by the digestive enzymes. This glucose is absorbed by our intestine and then this enter into our blood. Then blood transport all of these glucose into different parts of our body. So food, it breaks into the sugar, which is glucose, and then it is transported by our blood to the muscles. Some of it is stored in the liver for the emergency use, and some of this is converted into the fat, which causes obesity. If we take a large amount of glucose, then the necessary one, we will be obese. So that is why a specific amount of glucose is necessary. Greater than that will be cause diseases, and less than that will also cause different types of diseases. Next is test yourself. So what are carbohydrates? They are the polyhydroxy aldehydes and ketones. They are divided into different classes, which are monosaccharides, oligosaccharides and polysaccharides. What are the characteristics of disaccharides? Di means two. So it means these saccharides on breaking, they will give two monosaccharides. They are easily soluble in water. Simple, sucrose is very easily soluble in water. Sucrose is white crystalline solid. Sucrose is sweet in taste and it can be reducing and it can be non-reducing. The disaccharides can be reducing or non-reducing. Examples are maltose, sucrose, lactose. All of these, they are sweet, they are soluble in water. All of these are white crystalline solids. Give balanced chemical equation for the formation of glucose. So how glucose is formed naturally? When carbon dioxide and water combine together in the presence of sunlight and a green pigment, which is chlorophyll, we get glucose and lots of oxygen. That is why plants are really important for us. Draw the structure of glucose. So here it is, the structure of glucose. And you know very well there is anomaly at the carbon number 3. All the other hydroxyl groups, they are on the right hand side, but at the carbon number 3, the hydroxyl group is on the left hand side. Keep in mind, it is important. Give the balanced equation for the hydrolysis of sucrose. So sucrose, when breaks in the presence of water, it will change into glucose and fructose. Both have same molecular formula, but their structural formula is different. Dextrose in drips. Dextrose, It is a crystallized form of glucose. It provides simple carbohydrates to the body. When our body is running low on glucose, dextrose drips are given. Its solutions are available in different concentrations. For example, 5% dextrose means 5 gram of dextrose is dissolved in 100 ml of the solution to make a glucose drip. Why do we need glucose drips? It is used to provide fluid replacement. For example, you had an accident or you did a lot of exercise and you fainted. Why? Because your body lost lots of sweat, water. So dextrose help in the replacement of fluid, water and glucose because your muscle used lots of energy for the exercise. So we need that energy to be replaced. So we get this energy by glucose drips. And how do glucose drips work? They are given intravenous, into the veins. The glucose drips contain about 170 calories of energy, but because this energy cannot be directly supplied, we use some types of electrolytes in it. By different types of injections, these electrolytes, they help in the movement of the glucose to our different portions of the body. Dextrose is given to the patients directly into the vein, which is called intravenous. Keep in mind, it is given into the vein. Vein take the blood to the heart, and from the heart it will be filtered and then it will be supplied to all other portions of our body. If we give it to the arteries, then arteries will take it directly to the all other parts and our blood will not be filtered. So that is why we give intravenous. The drip system is very common because it is very fastest way to deliver the fluids into our different parts of the body, and different types of medicines can also be given along with the dextrose drips. And another important use of this is it prevents air entering into the body. The drip system do not allow the air enter into the bloodstream, so as injection system is less used as compared to the drip system. So today we learned different types of sources of carbohydrates, different types of uses of carbohydrates, how carbohydrates is a source of energy, test yourself, and dextrose in drips. Alright students, our topic for today ends here.